to the Dignity Dialogue with your host, Joe Kiedinger.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joe Kiedinger. This is April Johnson. Welcome
Hello.
to another Dignity Dialogue. This is our Part 4 series on leadership development. And we're going to talk about the most ancient topic of time that goes way back.
Way back.
Even to the caveman.
Yes, as I said earlier. The first time that a cave woman knocked a caveman in the head with a big stick, she was communicating.
That's right. Communication. Communication, such a painful yet necessary element, right? We work with obviously lots of companies. That's what we do. And when we ask if there's one thing you could improve in your organization, what would it be? And they say...
communication.
Da-da-da-da-da. That's right, John.
Come on up and get your prize.
Oh, my gosh. Why is communication so difficult? Why is it so difficult? Well, we're going to help clarify a little bit of why communication is so difficult. So, do you know that back in 350 BC, I think it's right around there was a guy named Hippocrates. He's Greek.
I didn't meet him personally, but I do know who he is.
You know who he is? You know, we know Socrates. He was a big guy. Do you know that doctors take the Hippocratic Oath?
Correct.
Okay. When they become a doctor, they have to take the Hippocratic Oath, which stands for Hippocrates. He was the godfather of modern medicine. Okay, that's what he's known for. 350 BC. Now, back in those days, they did like everything. So that's psychology, it's a physical body, it's everything, right? He came up with the 4 personality types in 350 BC. If I remember them correctly, it's phlegmatic, sanguine, cleric, and melancholy. Okay, that's what he called them. You might know them depending on what personality test of choice you have. You might have the Myers-Briggs has 4. Colors has 4 colors. DISC, D-I-S-C. And in Dignify, in our survey, we have an element of that, and we call them countries.
Right.
What country are you from? And April, explain why we love that metaphor of this country. Why people are able to wrap their head around that when you use the word country.
We talk about countries in that sense of travel, right? When you go to a country, and I love using the metaphor. I love to travel. I love going anywhere at any time. And when I go and I travel often, especially when I'm doing mission work, I have to have an interpreter. Because when I go to a different country, I don't necessarily speak their language. I feel really good about where I am with the English language now in practicing, but I don't speak any other language, right? And so because of that, if I go someplace and I don't have an interpreter, I could get myself into trouble because I don't know. Why? Because they speak a different language. So we talk about countries, and it really has to do with the language that people use, really their personal, if you will, their personal culture. You know, when I go to a different country, I love to go right in. I'm not usually the person that is at like the all-inclusive or that type of thing. I want to be like right in the middle because I want to get a sense for their culture. Right. And so a fun country person has a different kind of personal culture than that of a perfect country person. And the language that they speak is different. And so in Dignify, we look at those things and help people determine, how do you reach and bridge to somebody else's culture? How do you talk to them in a language that maybe is not your own, but it honors them when you're able to speak to their language and to their culture? So
I think what we're saying here, and we'll share with you the 4 country languages that we have. She alluded to 2 of them. But imagine if we're speaking English in this stage. I assume you speak English while you're viewing this, or you wouldn't know what we're talking about, literally what we're talking about. But imagine if there's 4 languages within the English language. There's 4 languages within the French or German language because of how people think. Now, our 4 countries of language are fun country, control country, perfect country and peace country. And it hasn't changed since Hippocrates came up with the 4 basically types of speaking and thoughts that people have. So we're going to walk you through. This is the essence of why we miscommunicate. Now, I am a fun country citizen, okay? And fun country, the vehicle is the airplane, okay? It's way up there. So we say fun country can see the territory because they're up there. That's their vehicle. Control country people see the forest. They can see a pretty big chunk of land, but they're looking at the whole forest. And then perfect country is taking care of every tree. They're analyzing the tree, making sure the tree is healthy and lovely. And then peace country people are walking around with a shovel saying, how can I help? They're built to help. So let's explore some of the language, April, when you're out in the world where they conflict or where confusion happens. And maybe we could start with complementary countries like peace country and control country are complements. So
Absolutely.
Talk about, in your experience, how these two folks, you've learned how one person says one thing, the other person's confused, and how that can kind of confuse understanding.
In terms of, that complementary, we talk about control country, somebody that might have control or peace as their first country, and then the other as their second country, that you can have elements of all 4. But that main country, one of the things that we talk about is like in management, for example, right? We notice, we see that managers that kind of have a natural knack and are just, they naturally are good at it, tend to have peace and control.
Yes, as their top two
as their
countries.
top 2 countries. And why does that matter? Because control country is really that country that's looking at what do we need to do? So they come up and they're like, when is this happening? What is, where are we in this? What's happening with this? I need this, I need this, I need this. And what's in the way? Their roadblock, right?
Yep, their bottom line.
Bottom line.
Their vehicle.
Just tell me
what is their vehicle?
They're a bulldozer.
They're the bulldozer. They clear obstacles out of the way, and they create a flat foundation to build something awesome.
Build something else. And if you think about it, with control country, you can't build a giant hospital on a piece of land covered with trees and roots and stumps and right. They got to flatten that whole thing out, right? And so that's what a bulldozer does. And so that control country person has the ability to kind of get things out of the way for their team, remove roadblocks. They're very keen on just what needs to be done. They're the what country, and that's kind of their focus.
We're gonna do.
But peace country is really about this element of efficiency and cooperation. And so having this combination of like what needs to get done and how can we do it, and do it efficiently and do it cooperatively. Woo. I mean, it works.
Yes.
I see where it works. And so when you're working with somebody and maybe you're control country, that other person is peace country, and you come into them and it's like, hey, here's the things that need to be done, right? And then you can just stop. Because the beauty of peace country is they'll say, great, thank you for that. I'll figure out how to do that efficiently and who we need for it. Yeah. And we can all come together and work on it together. And the beauty of peace country is that they remain calm. They're the gondola. Although I joke around, I say they're really more like a pontoon.
Yeah, they're social
boat, right?
and they're peaceful and they just want to get along.
Yeah, and that's part of their culture.
Smart, intelligent resolve is what they're all about.
Yeah.
And they're about the relationship.
Yep.
So they are the folks that go, how's your weekend?
Yeah.
Right? They want to connect with you as a person, and then let's talk about work. We're control people, they talk about work, and then they'll talk about relationships if they're in a social setting. And that's where they can often clash. When you don't know these things. Have you ever had a person walk in and go, do we have the report from yesterday? And you think, and how was your weekend? And how are you doing? And how about hello? Nice to see you. Okay? Right? In the vehicle of life, control people, the task is in the front seat, the relationship is in the back. Hey, it's all here on the ride, but I'm focusing on this first. And for peace people, the relationship is in the front seat and the task is in the back. So that's one. Now, the other 2 complementary countries are fun country which I mentioned, and you have perfect in you. You're a fun perfect.
I'm
are
a
you not?
fun perfect.
So you have both in you. So let's talk about where that can get confusing.
Well, sometimes I do talk to both sides within myself. I do find that struggle sometimes, even within myself, as a fun perfect.
Yeah.
Because fun is a bit more visionary.
Yes.
Right. And fun wants to enjoy. They want to enjoy everything that they do.
That's right.
You know, they find the good. They kind of bounce back from things a little bit easier than some of the other countries. They are, a fun country person has 15 ideas on their drive to work.
Right.
I mean, they're those idea people. But perfect country is really those planners. They're sensitive. Right? They are about let's keep it consistent. Let's get a process. Let's make sure that this works. They can see from A to Z. They're really good to see how are we going to get there?
They're the process. Put everything in order.
Put it in order.
Yeah,
and then let's
how.
keep it. Right? So they're the how they're the how country. And so sometimes visionary, that fun country can race on an idea, can just go. And sometimes leaving the perfect country behind.
Yeah.
Right. And what I have often seen with these two countries is that when fun runs into a problem or runs into something that they didn't necessarily see, if you will, in the weeds or in the trees, right? They turn back to perfect country, help. And perfect country's like, you should have asked me for help 6 months ago in this project, right? Why? Because they're sensitive. You left me behind.
Yeah.
Now you want my help.
And now I have to figure out how to put all the pieces together.
Right. And so we hear that when we coach folks who are from perfect country. And then everybody comes to me and they just want me to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
They should have asked me how to plan it.
Exactly. So these 4 countries work very well together when they're aware. Mm-hmm. When they're aware, because everyone has a place, if you think about it. So the fun people are the why not? Why can't we do this? They're the territory. They're the visionary. They can see big picture stuff. The control people are going, okay, but you've got 15 ideas.
Right.
What are we going to focus on? That's a control person. What are the results we're trying to get? What are the metrics? What is this? They're the what people. And they'll take your 15 ideas and go, here's what we're going to focus on. Okay, I see the vision you're talking about. We're going to focus on these 5 things. Thank you, control people. Let's pass it off to the perfect country people. Here are the 5 things now we want to get after. How should we get after them? Oh, well, now the perfect people love knowing, what do you want? Right? What do you want? And then I'll tell you how, but don't get me involved in the what until you know what you want. But I can do the how, so now they're going to do the how. They come up with this process, and then the peace people are the, why are we doing that? They're the why people.
Yep.
And they look at this process perfect people created, and they can make it more efficient. Oh, I see where you're going there, but we can actually just cut across this way. We'll get the same result in less amount of time. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes perfect people can overthink process, where the peace people maybe can't come up with the process, but once they see it, they can tell you how to improve it. Matter of fact, we just had a big, shall we say, an experiment on this. And one of our clients who was brave enough to try it, and they were blown away. They had a big idea. Basically, they had a big problem. How might we fill in the blank, right? Basically, they're basically an hourly. They charge by the hour. One of those businesses, and they said, how might we create revenue not based on the hour? Okay. And so we broke them up. We had all their Dignify snapshots. You go in there and you go fun country, creative, and you put in what you want and go, broop, here are the people. We invited them to a meeting. Then we went control country with some other, motivational things that we threw in the system. It goes, broop, here they are. And we stacked them. There were about maybe 5 to 8 people per group. Mm-hmm. Now it's a 100-person organization, so you can't include everybody, right? It gets overwhelming. But these folks in a day, they each had an hour. And they just would come in next hour. So there's 4 groups. That's 4 hours plus lunch. Within a day, they were able to pull out more ideas and know exactly what they're going to start focusing on, where before they were working on it for months, but the wrong people are in the meeting at the wrong time.
Correct.
Now we have the right people in the meeting at the right time because we understand communication. we understand how people are wired, and you can understand too. Now, you can go on our website, discover your country for absolutely free. Okay, so just go to dignify.com and you'll do our survey and we'll show you your first dignity trait. And if you scroll down, you'll see your countries and we're going to reveal to you your home country. Are you fun, control, peace, or perfect? And I encourage you to click on that and it will open up and show you videos and paragraphs written specifically for you to tell what kind of control person you are or fun person you are. And I think you'll find it quite fascinating. And I encourage you to whoever you want to get to know better, understand your main country. That's free for you. That's at Dignify.
Yep.
And
it's huge.
This is huge.
It's huge. It's foundational to communicating, because so often we get caught in the trap of, I have something to communicate. I communicated it. Nobody got it.
Yeah.
Or that's not what I said. That's not what I meant.
How many times did that happen to you?
Right? And, I talk about,
I said that. What?
Exactly. Like, why are they mad at me? Right. But it could be about your approach. This is an area that I think approach is everything when it comes to communication, right? How we approach the people that we communicate with, if we really don't know them. And again, sometimes just a simple conversation, a little bit of dialogue. We talk about our snapshot in Dignify, and I say it's a dialogue tool.
Yes.
It's available to you to help you dialogue with the people that you are close to, the people in your circumference, right? But you could be 100% wrong and 100% right at the same time, right? Whatever that idea is, the thing that has to change, the piece of process that maybe has to go differently. Everybody loves change, right? So that change, it's the right decision. Mm-hmm. You're right. This has to happen. But the way that you bring it and share it and communicate it makes it 100% wrong.
That's right, because you've offended or you've threatened, or the person's going wall up.
Right.
Yeah, we just had, I want to illustrate a story about that. I was coaching a gentleman who was saying, I'm trying to bridge to this other person, okay? And I'm pulling my hair out because I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Now, this is a controlled country person, okay, who's abrupt and to the point. He's trying to communicate with a very soft-natured person, okay? And in just that dialogue, in the approach, when they did they did a process where he humbled himself and just asked, how can I do better with you? And she talked about approach with him. And the dialogue was, do you know that you come to me in the hallway and go, where are we with Project ABC? And I'm getting my coffee and I'm just crossing to my desk. My brain I don't know where we are with ABC. I'm just getting a cup of coffee. It's 8 a.m. I just got here. How about good morning? Hey, I'd love to talk to you about this project and where we're at. Might you have time later? So basically, by doing this dignity dialogue that the two of them did on dignity and approach, which that's what sparked this idea, this thought, she was able to express to him in less than 15, 20 minutes in very specific ways one thing he can tweak. And that one thing changed a whole heck of a lot.
Right.
That one thing, because she was feeling threatened. And he doesn't want to threaten anyone. That's not who this person is. Yep. It's called a dignity violation, and we do it accidentally based on these 4 countries. So here are some other goofy habits of the countries. Can we talk about goofy habits?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do 2 and you do 2.
Okay.
Which one do you want?
I don't know.
Do you have 2 that
I don't
you
know.
want to
Do
do?
yours. You seem like you know exactly what you want to do.
Well, I mean, fun country. Okay, fun country are kind of they're so lofty in their thoughts that when they're in a meeting and people are sharing ideas, because they're visionary, they tend to take that idea and project it out 3 to 5 years. Like, oh, you've inspired me, right? But they don't say that. They just go, oh, and it can do this, and it can do that. And the people are in the meeting going, I thought we were talking about this.
Yep.
Right? Where are you going? Now, if you're in a boss, like being the owner of our company, I will do those things. And I learned before we really knew what dignity was all about and dignity dialogues, I learned that oh, I'm just inspired. We're not taking action on any of that right now. Right?
Right.
Like, where are you? Are you pivoting us? Oh, no. I'm just reacting in a natural way about what I see from a territory point of view, but we're talking still about the tree right now.
Yeah.
Right? We're just talking about the tree right now. And so that led us astray many times because, well, Joe said now we're pivoting again.
Right.
Oh, I was just inspired by what everyone was sharing, and it led to thoughts. So that's a fun country, kind of a quirk.
Yep. Well, and it's interesting because I can go off of that.
Yeah.
And talk about peace country.
Okay.
Which I'm not. I mean, it is. I have all four. I have some points in all four,
Sure.
but it's my last country, and so I don't necessarily see this. But in your example, it's a great way to jump to peace country, who often will not jump in and question
Right.
in the moment, right? And so because peace country needs time to think about
They like
it.
to avoid conflict.
They like to avoid conflict. They want to remain calm. They try to be patient, and so they're kind of waiting it out. And so you can be in these meetings, and you might have a few peace country people that they say nothing, right?
Yes.
They say nothing, and so everybody. And then what ends up happening is, down the road, when someone takes it to them, they go, well, wait a minute, I thought we were going to be doing this. And are we moving on that? Do we have to move on that?
Why didn't you bring that up in the meeting?
Bring it up in the meeting.
It says control, right?
It says control country. Why didn't you bring it up? You didn't say anything in the meeting.
Yeah.
They wouldn't say anything in the meeting. Now, peace country might come to the person if they're safe.
Yes.
Right? I think psychological safety and some of those things really play into it, of course, too.
Yeah.
If they feel safe, they may come to that person who's running that meeting after the meeting. I know everybody's going, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Nope, it makes sense. They come to that person and say, hey, I need to talk to you about a couple things that happened in that meeting, because they're private.
And they cherish being respected and to respect another.
Yes.
So they really like one-on-one communication because that's respectful, and they feel safe with that individual.
Yep. But sometimes I will tell you, as a fun country person, as my first country, and perfect as my second, sometimes I will find myself at peace country going, tell me, please, tell me. And I have to practice sometimes waiting.
And saying thank you.
Yep.
Because
Thank
what
you
you
for letting me
accidentally do in business, think about this, gang, you sabotage the very thing that you're asking for. If you're asking for people to step up and speak their mind to you, and a peace country person does that in a private way, like we just described, and then your reaction is, why didn't you bring that up in the meeting? Guess what? They're not going to bring up anything to you ever again. Like, I'm not going to bring it up because it just got chastised. That's what I'm calling an accidental sabotage. You have to get out of your own way of doing things and open yourself up to other people's ways. And that's what we're talking about this today. This is the critical communication gap that if you don't know about is why we miscommunicate.
Right.
It's
That's
why
the
we
bridge.
miscommunicate. That's the bridge.
We call it bridging, and we have to be able to bridge to another person. And sometimes bridging can be really awkward. You know, for those of us who maybe are not as good at some of those other ways of other countries. I'm not super good at peace country ways.
Yes.
And so it can feel awkward to me. It might even look sometimes and feel awkward within a group. I know for myself, I have become really comfortable with saying, I may stumble all over this, but I want to talk to you about this. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I may not get it completely right, but I want us to have this dialogue. You know, and so that's a unique piece. And perfect country, as my second country, I would say one of the things that, and I know for myself, I have to remind myself sometimes. I used to have a tag, a little sticky on my computer that said, "You don't have to have it all figured out yet."
Right.
Because sometimes for perfect country, we could just stop everything because I don't have the end figured out yet.
Yeah.
And that has sometimes slowed my own process down. It has sometimes slowed the process of my team down. Like I have to give myself permission sometimes to be okay with we don't know how it's all going to come together yet, but I have a good start.
Well, and because you counterbalance with your fun country, you're able to go, let's just try it. But for those who are like perfect purists, right, they naturally don't want to ask for help because they enjoy the process of the how. But to your point, if they can't see the end, they get gridlocked and nothing happens. This is when you see a house that's cluttered from a perfect country point of view because they just can't get all perfectly clean, so they just don't clean it.
Yep.
And maybe you're going, oh my gosh, that's totally my friend over here. That's totally this. Versus being a slob. There's a difference. You know, fun country people can be a little slobs once in a while.
Yeah,
right? Clutter all over the place. You know, but that's not the case, and the motivation is different for perfect country people. So they're sensitive, and they don't always ask for help. And that's when you have to, if you create a great team and you have this safety built up, like I get you, and I see there's something across your railroad tracks, and I want to help remove that tree or that obstacle from you so that you can get to the finish line. So I'm going to hold your hand and walk you through what's uncomfortable, you know, because I can see that you're kind of stuck. And I see you're stuck because this has been delayed in your example, whatever it is. This has been delayed. And so now we can step in and talk about that, where normally we just talk behind the person's back, you know, and that's just not healthy. So our own idea of efficiency and common sense, there is no such thing. There is no such thing, because an efficiency way of communicating with control people is like, just tell me right now, what is it? That's not. An efficiency way for peace people is let's have some one-on-one dialogue so I can get my head around this. An efficiency way for perfect country is let's have time to think about this so we can plan appropriately. An efficiency way for fun country is let's just try it, see what happens, whatever, no plan, let's go. Well, you can see why communication is such a challenge. However, if we can have awareness, we rise awareness of these 4 different ways of thinking, these 4 different languages, how we misinterpret each other within the same language structure, things change.
Absolutely.
Everything changes, especially if it's simple to understand and you can wrap your head around it. And so we invite you to discover your country.
It's fun.
It's free. Just go to dignify.com and you'll see how you can discover. You can take our little survey. It takes around 10 minutes, and you'll see your number 1 dignity trait. And if you scroll down, you'll see your first country. Click on it. It will open up some great information about you. Share with other people, because it's important that we really learn how to communicate with one another.
Yes, because it really builds. The word that keeps coming to mind as we're talking today is transparency.
Yes.
It builds transparency. When we can just be real and be authentic. I have a note on my little piece of paper that I write often that says, you don't have to be perfect, be authentic.
That's right.
You know, and that's, for me, that's like one of my mantras, right? Because that's an area where I want to make sure that I stay authentic. And that has to do with transparency. When we can just be who we are and be able to be transparent about that, other people will understand it. It's easier to accept it. It's easier to say, oh my goodness, actually, there's really helpful things that come from the way you are. You know, there are things that I bring to the table that Joe doesn't have.
That's right.
And so I come to the table and I can bring that value. And Joe has so many things about Joe that is so valuable to the rest of his team that we do not have, right? And when we start to recognize and realize the people that we are with are to enhance our life.
Yeah.
You know, and they're to enhance the things that we're doing. We can't do anything on our own, really. You know, everything is greater than us. And when we bring people along with it and we're transparent and we're honest and we're communicating.
And you understand where they're coming from and put
yes.
them in the right process of anything. It is sweet.
It is.
So you cannot accept what you do not understand. We're trying to increase understanding.
I love it.
All right. This has been another Dignity Dialogue with our final segment on leadership development. And the crucial piece was communication. It comes over everything. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dignity Dialogue with Joe Kiedinger and
April Strom Johnson.
All right. See you next time.
See ya.
This has been the Dignity Dialogue with Joe Kiedinger. Talk at you later.